Assalamualaikum. This is. Oh. Gosh. Touch us. Assalamualaikum. This is Faja Delane, and we're back with Dean TV on Dean Talk. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great vacation. I know I did. A great exciting thing is that I got my permit and my license, so I'm so happy about that. And this winter break, I've been really working on a big project, an event coming up. It's called HU Hijab Fest, and we're honored to have the Olympian Ibtaj Muhammad, Halima Aiden, the fashion model, and we have Ayana Ife, who won Project Runway, as well as Bilqis Abdul Qadir, who is a basketball player who lifted the ban off the hijab in the professional basketball arena. So that's so exciting. It's next weekend at the Washington Plaza, so if you're in the area, please come. It's an event you do not want to miss. So yeah, I'm really excited to have been talking to the agents, signing contracts and everything. So I learned a lot of business skills. So what about you?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum guys. My name's Omer, and I just came off a winter break as well. It was pretty calm for me. I didn't do anything too, amazing like organize a hijab fest, but I look forward to going next week. I went skiing. And it was the first time, and I fell a few times, but it definitely was an experience, and I look forward to going back next year, inshallah.
Okay, yeah, excellent. I love snowboarding. Like, that is like one of my favorite things to do, like hands down.
Right. I mean, like winter can be really dreary and boring when you're not doing anything, but when you are like skiing or snowboarding or out there, and when it snows, it's really nice. You can really find a lot of things to do.
Right. Where did you go?
I went. It wasn't that far. It was like three hours to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In the Poconos mountain region. So they have a few different trails there. We tried out one of them. It was raining that day, but thankfully because we were on the mountain, it was calmer and they had snow machines on and everything. So it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't ideal ski conditions.
Okay.
However, I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was a great blast.
Awesome. Yeah. You went with your family as
well?
Yeah,
I went with my family.
Okay.
And like the three of us, it was the first time for I have two other siblings, so it was the first time for my older sister and my younger brother, and it was, we got a little training lesson at the start, and then we used a ski lift to get up, and
that's so cool.
Right, it's definitely awesome.
It definitely reminded me, I was in California when I did snowboarding. We had the training lesson as well, so I really loved it. But yeah, guys, so I had a great restful break. College finals, man.
Those are crazy.
Crazy. I was so happy it ended. So we're wrapping up, and we'll catch you guys on the next session. See you.
So as you see here, there's a well being built. The locals used to walk miles to get clean, safe water. But now it's getting built right in front of the doorstep, which I think is a great thing. And you can see the women out here, the men out here, they're very happy to have this here. Please donate generously to this fantastic thirst relief project by Penny Appeal. Donate online.
And welcome back to Dean Talk TV. Okay, so we are going to be talking about this Bilal film. Oh my gosh. So before we get all into the juice, take a look at this trailer right now.
Bilal, you awake? Good.
Come, enter. You can have whatever you desire.
Idols for sale. They come in all colors and shapes. They make your wishes come true.
Here, I was saving this for you.
We have problems, Omaya. Big problems. Look out there. Neither king nor emperor rule here. We rule.
You will not harm her.
The deer thinks it's a lion.
Should I take off these chains? What do you say, Bilal?
We are brothers, killing brothers. Put an end to this.
And we're back. Yay. So what do you guys think about that whole trailer and new experience? Who's the director?
So it's the directing company is called Barajun Entertainment, I think. And if you guys, want to ask your questions, we're gonna be looking at your questions at the end of the segment.
Session, yeah.
Just
Hashtag Dean Talk,
hashtag Dean Talk. Yeah.
Twitter.
I thought that the whole idea of having someone like Bilal Razilan who star in a film like this or have an animated movie about him is very important. And I really appreciate that they spent a lot of time, 8 years, and 12 researchers, I think, spent a while trying to compile and figure out exactly how to represent them accurately. But I think they got a few of the details, kind of messed up. But, what do you think about that?
So, I mean, I definitely appreciate the whole, research and everything. But as we know, Bilal is depicted supposedly way darker than that. He's like, a past for like a mixed person basically. So it's not, I don't feel like it's the right representation of how he really looked.
Right.
What we see with a lot of, I think, spiritual films, whether it be Moses or Joseph, like everything else is just made more lighter or whatever, and it's just like always in our films. So I think if color's not that big of a deal, I say why not show what it really is instead of always trying to have it animated to be lighter or something of a descent that's really not from that area. So that's the main concern that I have. Like if they really do say like color's not a problem, why can't we really show what these people look like? But overall, I think it's a great message, and children can really see themselves in this film and how a prophetic story that was in here like really helped, live with lives, and they can look up to something. He's the first muezzin, of our deen. Like that's just huge. So in a cartoon form, I think that's really exciting for a lot of people.
And you brought up a very important point about who children look up to, and we talked about this before with the makeup lines and all of that. But this is a prophetic story, and he is a part of that prophetic story.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to recognize the characters in play. So I definitely think that it's an amazing thing in that regard. The other thing that I really wanted to bring up was in general over the past ever since Hollywood has produced films like this about African American leaders. There was a movie about Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, all of this. Many of them were post-colonial 1900s type of leaders, and now we see leaders that are from before that. And so I think that's really important, talking about civilizations in the past, leaders and African leaders,
right.
And Arabian leaders, and all these different communities that have existed and had very important civilizations and how they impacted the world is something that is coming up now, and it's very important. It's a very important discussion for us to have.
I definitely agree. So that's what I was saying. Like, so many children that are from so many different backgrounds can kind of see themselves in this film, you know, and a real life thing. And that's how you're tying into like, how can we, I'm hoping to see from this story, how can we correlate what we've learned in the show or the movie to like real life, you know what I mean? Like, what could inspire us to take action now through this film, which I'm excited to see. I haven't seen it yet. It comes out next week, Friday.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's also Black History Month, so that's also pretty cool.
And to tie that in, you know, in February, there's another important movie coming out by Marvel, which is the Black Panther film.
Right. Which will, and that's really exciting. Like,
it's really exciting. We're all looking forward to that as well. And I think that both of these films are very important, even though one is more of a fictional character and one is someone that we know is very much real life.
Right.
There's a lot to learn from both of these characters. And, you know, I personally am really looking forward to watching the Black Panther movie because it's about, you know, someone new to the scene of, you know, what a hero is. And it really changes the view of what heroism is. And it brings a more diverse look at it. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, tickets are like sold out. I don't even know when I'm going to watch it. And what's going to frustrate me is that those that have already watched it, especially at my school, they're probably going to be talking about it. And it's like, I want to watch it for myself, but I probably won't be able to until like 2 weeks after. So that's going to be a challenge. I'm going to have to just put my headphones on and just like wait till I watch it, because everybody should be talking about it, hands down.
Right, but so overall, I mean, a lot of good is coming out of movies like Black Panther, movies like Bilal. But one of the biggest concerns, I think, for the Muslim community, because this is about, you know, this is a Deen Talk, so we're going to talk about Islam, obviously, is that this is not, you know, this is in no way should be, we've done our job kind of a movie.
This should just be the beginning.
Right.
It's
for us to really start thinking about how we're going to teach the youth of this generation about Muslim leaders and Muslim, you know, individuals that have really been instrumental in the development of our, you know, religion and the spread of Islam as well. I personally think that Bilal is a great start, but we need to, Bilal the movie is a great start, but we need to start focusing more on, you know, creating programs and developing, you know, thought processes which are encouraging our communities to move forward with accepting people of all different statuses and faiths and colors.
Right, and that's what Islam really represents.
Right.
I mean, and that's what's a big, you know, I think we can have these dialogues when this movie comes out, of coming from different backgrounds and not being judgmental and seeing you still rise into being one of the greatest leaders on earth. And I feel like that's the real truth of it. Through this movie, hopefully we can really talk about some issues, some hardships that we have as a people in here in America or around the world, and create more dialogue of just being honest, you know what I mean? Being honest about maybe colorism, being honest about heroism, you know, and us being portrayed. And hopefully more stories can come out, you know what I mean? Like how you said, this is just the beginning. Hopefully more great stories we can see within our Deen come out of this. So what are some of the other like characters you would like to see in the Islamic,
you know, I think that, you know, like you mentioned, as we move forward, as we see more movies like Bilal come out, we will see more characters. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the, you know, the generals like Khalid bin Walid.
Yes, I want to see the whole companions. Like, that's a squad right there. Exactly. I want to, like, see that come out.
I also want to see wholesome media, where we're talking more about the stories of these individuals, and we are giving people access to books that are already written about them. And so as we end up, the really important thing that we want you to take away from all of this is that we need to continue this conversation. We need to continue to be talking about Bilal, Razillah Anhu, and everyone else that has been so instrumental in our community. So now we're going to move to another commercial break, and we're going to be back. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Okay, so you've got 1 minute and 47 seconds. Okay.
Since August 25th of this year, over 600,000 individuals have fled from Myanmar into bordering Bangladesh. They've witnessed crimes against humanity. The United Nations calls what happened in Myanmar textbook definition of genocide, textbook definition of ethnic cleansing. We've been here for the last few months, providing them with access to clean drinking water, providing them with access to primary healthcare services, helping them build their shelters, as well as giving them weekly food distributions. We can't fathom what they've witnessed. The ones that have arrived into Bangladesh are the lucky ones. They're now residing in between the 22 to 25 official refugee camps that have now been established. With your continued support, we want to secure their future. We want to stay for the foreseeable future so that we can dig more water wells, so that we can provide them with more medication and more medical advice, so that we can help build more shelters, especially with the winter coming and the cold setting in. Please visit our website to find out more about our work and to support us with your generous donations. Thank you.
Welcome back to Dean Talk. We're joining you again talking about the movie Bilal. And so now we're going to continue the discussion talking a little bit about, a broader understanding of this and how people are really reacting to the whole idea of this new movie coming out.
Yeah. I think, it's crazy. I mean, we're going through like the Facebook comments. I think AJ Plus made also their own like trailer about it for more information. So we can, first you want to share our personal stories of relations, or you want to go into the comments?
I think we should go straight into the comments.
All right, let's go. So what are some of the things?
Number one, I think the biggest comparison that people are making is, or one of the comparisons that people are making is the comparison between the importance of the movie The Message and also this new movie, Bilal. Now, if you guys know a little bit of The Message, it's a story about the overall prophetic story. And of course, it's pretty, they've been very consistent in trying to make sure that we're following, Islamic guidelines and making sure that we're not, including any images and stuff like that. But it was a very impactful movie about the whole story and journey of Islam and how, the Quran was founded, the Quran was brought down, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, during the early times of Mecca. So I think that was really, really touched on something. But it was really hard for me, I was a kid back then, right? So it was really hard for me to understand everything that was going on because it was one of those movies that you would have to be kind of, you have to think about it a little bit.
You have to.
Right. Now, this movie, on the other hand, Bilal, it's a cartoon.
Right.
So it's easier for kids of younger ages to understand. And I think that's really important because of, being a kid and being exposed to such information is really awesome. In a mainstream way, with CG and all of that, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I remember just listening to the stories of the prophets and the companions, but it was just amazing, like, when even the cartoon Prophet Muhammad came out, they couldn't just show his face or whatever, but I was like, oh my God, everything my parents were telling me, it's like in a movie, everything I heard is like actually accurate in this movie. So it gave me the ability to visualize what was really going on at the time. And as a little kid, you got to really see what the words, they were coming to life. So I think that's why this film is just really, really important. Through the comic sessions, some people, again, bringing back this whole colorism thing, is not a big deal. But at the same time, it's like, if it's not a big deal, I would say the accuracy. I'm not sure what happened in the production. Maybe they had him, darker or something, but I don't know if they said you had to put lighter to be on this TV production. I'm not really sure, but whatever the case is, the fact that in so much history research, we know that Bilal was of darker dark complexion, and this is obviously not dark complexion. This is middle or something like that. That's not really the complexion he was portrayed as in scripture, I believe.
I agree, and I think that going back to the whole complexion issue, it's an issue, and I think that as this production company and as we produce more Muslim-oriented cartoons and shows like this one, we will be more aware of these things.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that this is a point we're gonna be like, okay, there was a lot of goods with Bilal, but we also want the production company to focus on, look, there's some issues with your movie as well.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I thought was kind of interesting and people brought up was how the mainstream community is reacting to this. I was able to read an article of an LA critic who was able to screen the movie before it came out. And they were talking a little bit about the whole, basically the iconoclasm, right? The whole idea of, why aren't they showing the Prophet? Why aren't they showing, Abu Bakr, all these major people?
Right.
And it was hard to grasp, right? Because people don't have this type. And usually with Western religions, it hasn't been an issue, right? There's a lot of imagery and all of that. So
in everything, right?
Right, definitely. So I think it was really cool because yes, it's hard for people to visualize a lot of things because of not being introduced to such topics or such ideas. But at the end of the day, what matters is that we are introducing this idea of art to people. So I think that's really important, and that matters a lot.
Yeah, and I think that through this, there's always pros and cons, and I think that as a ummah, as a people, we can grow through this film because image does matter. So again, that's what I'm saying. There's so much dialogue that's going to happen. Like the overall story is going to be great, but at the same time, it's just like, why not portray what we, how it really is? So it's just a learning lesson, but I hope to see also in upcoming movies that we're not afraid to really show, like, darker people on the screen.
Definitely.
Which when the whole world is of like so much different complexions and there's darker hued people obviously everywhere. So like it would be great to really show those things, great representation of humanity and not just one type of person in humanity.
Exactly. And going back to humanity in general, we touched on this a little bit. Let's delve a little deeper. The whole idea of leadership, right? I think in the past, like we've looked at leaders in our communities and even in the textbooks, like we're always mostly talking about, American leadership or, leadership in Europe, and those people are the people that we discuss. But when you delve deeper, you realize that, we've been humans have been, not relatively for a short time, but still we've been here for a while now. And there's leaders in every different type of community, tribes in Africa, in India, in the Middle East. So it helps that we're bringing that out with even Black Panther, but more importantly, Bilal.
Exactly. And then like the history we were just saying that correlates to representation, how you're saying like, in America history, we just learned about the 1900s, the white people came over here and whatever, the Black people, but the Black Panthers show a time, though it's fictional, but it could be real, like a real life story, we just haven't been documented, but shows civilization before that time, you know what I mean? So like there has been a whole life of Egyptians and the pyramids and African tribes, Indian tribes, Chinese tribes, all over the place. And it's like we just keep getting this one narrative of like 200 years ago. So I think this was such an exciting time. I'm excited to go back into the past because I feel like it's going to make us think about the future, what worked for this Black Panther tribe. Like I'm interested to see the dialogue within like the minority communities of like what worked for them and what could work for us through watching this, potentially.
And even talking about the minority community, we have to also think about the impact that Hollywood is having nowadays. Like, this is not just an American enterprise anymore. It's a global enterprise.
Global.
And, Al Jazeera, for example, who reported on this, is from Qatar, right? So we have international bodies that are reporting on this. And that means that we have an international audience. And so having someone like Bilal, Razillah Anhu, being at the center of all of that is very important because he is able to connect with a lot of people. Because of his, number one, because of his, the location, the setting of the whole story, but also from where he's at. So like you can see the impact of that as well.
Right.
And so that's really important because, think about it, like Hollywood films have been global for a while.
Yes.
And you don't get that kind of representation.
You do not get representation.
It's very important to have that kind of sophisticated, not sophisticated in the sense of the movie, but sophisticated in the sense of graphics and all of that.
Right.
Being in use throughout the world.
Yes, but in that such a big platform, it's not like a secondary platform coming out. It's like coming through one of the main influences that we, as a world, we see. So I feel like that's what's so exciting. I feel like it's like finally, it's like, we can breathe, but we still got so much more work to do, but it's just like exciting because I know my grandma never had a chance to see this.
Exactly, yeah.
Or my parents, now they can, but they never grew up with just seeing like more minorities on TV or represented in general.
And of course not Muslim minorities, for sure.
For sure.
The other aspect of this, absolutely, is, being able to see the Muslims or Islam through a positive light. Like, you don't get that a lot. And even now, like, you're not getting that a lot. And so this is really moving forward, and it's focusing on so many different issues, be that civil, religious, all of that.
Yes, and I think I want to bring back to the Bilal story, my personal connection with him, that, from hearing the story was just, like the oneness, he knew who Allah was. You know what I mean? I think it goes back to saying that Islam just didn't start in the 1400s. It was all the way, like, it's a continuation of what came before. So I'm saying, like, in Bilal's nature, through his humanness, he knew who Allah was. He was just waiting to hear that confirmation. And when he heard that confirmation, it was a wrap. He was ready to do anything. So I just want to say, like, it shows the real authenticity of, like, what we have within our soul. Like, he already knew that Allah is one. Like, that's who he said, Ahad, when, you know, all that torment was coming on him. And to stay strong throughout that. I mean, who could really, like, every time I see, like, especially when I watch the message, like, I would cry, like, on his part when they put the rocks on him and stuff.
Right.
But,
No, yeah.
I mean,
Remember
come
that.
on. So, like, my thing is just, like, I just saw the greatness of him already knowing who Allah was, and Allah, in his lifetime, allowed him to elevate and really live out what he believed.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I think, you know, when you learn about, you know, the seerah and all of the beauty in that story, it's all about, you know, freedom, you know, all these values, right? But when you look at Bilal Raziyallahu Anhu's story, you really get that sense, right? Like, whenever you read seerah, this story of Ahad and the stone always comes up. And even though our lives are not necessarily that scary, they still have an aspect of that. And so, you know, while we're wrapping up, I just want to say that, you know, stories like these, again, are stories that matter because they can connect with us on a whole other level.
Yes, I totally agree. Well, I'm so excited. Make sure you guys are on the lookout for these new movies, and hope to see you guys next show. Assalamu alaikum.
We're going to be right back after another
Twitter session. We have one more session. Please send all you guys questions to Dean, #DeanTalk, and we'll be answering them. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, and we're back. We got the Twitter questions. Okay, so #DeanTalk. Let's see what some of you guys' questions are.
And remember, we're live, so if you want to send your questions right now, we'll be able to respond right now.
Send them right now.
them in.
Your question might get answered. Like, that's how real it is. Okay, so the first question we have is, how would Black Panther affect racial tensions in America? Ooh, what do you think?
I think it comes down to confidence, right? So for an African American, like, I'm not an African American, but I have friends, you know, and I know that it'll be about confidence. So knowing that there's leaders and knowing that they have some, you know, a hero to look forward to is really important, I think.
I think so too, and I feel like, you know, this is a time where you can be confident. You know what I mean? I think, and unapologetically confident. I don't think, you know, if you really, how you said, are confident and you see like a good movie, it should be a good movie, you know? A lot of white movies, you're not really saying, well, it's a white person, I feel tension, you know what I mean? So, but every time it's a minority, we have to like bring that up. But it's like, it's a really good film and it's a really good leadership, you know, thing. But I feel like also too, I just pray that it gives more empowerment within our community, the Black community, the minority community, any community that has not been represented. I hope it elevates them and their self-esteem and whatever they want to do in life.
Definitely.
For sure.
And I also think that while we're on it, we were talking a little bit about how it's a fictional story. But it really, you know, we talk a lot about, a lot of our, you know, school, even though we talk a lot about colonialism, there's always this aspect of it talking about, you know, the civilizations of Africa. And we're always like, our teachers always bring up, if it were not for colonialism, we would have, you know, an Africa that was very different. We're able to look at the Africa that would be very different in another light, and that is very powerful.
That is so powerful. Like, they were even saying, like, I heard this comment from somebody, I don't know if it was like a critic or something, or just somebody curious about the movie, or just a regular person, but basically they were saying that, you know, they, like, people would probably have been better off and like so much more on a different level if it was not due to colonialism. Like, it shows you how much more, like, they were like technologically advanced.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a technology.
So I'm just not even just technology, but just whatever you are, like, you can probably be so much more grand without that whole depression of colonialism and all these different, countries in the whole world. Like, how much more would we be able to have developed if we just kind of like stayed where we were and kept developing within our own nations and tribes? So that's really cool. So the next question we have is, how does World Hijab Day help empower Muslim women or women in general? Well,
you.
Yeah, that's really cool. This question, I think it's really important. Just like how we've been talking about having that representation and it being looked at on a global scale, that the fact that it's a hijab day is just like so amazing and important. And going back to, HU Hijab Fest, like this is the first ever, like Howard University is making this event, and it's just like, wow, unapologetically celebrating your hijab and who you are as a woman, being of resistance. We go through so much as Muslim women, and especially like at the forefront wearing your hijab, actually having a day that you can stand in solidarity. I know people that are not even Muslim, that are girls, and they'll like want to wear the hijab just because they're like, I see what you're doing and I think it's beautiful and I want to see how it feels like with a day in hijab. So some people have good responses where like they're like, guys are really respectful, and then some people have like horrible responses like, man, nobody paid attention to me. So it's just like it's interesting the various things that people go through with the hijab, but I just feel like it's really important to actually have a day where you're celebrated and it's okay and you're recognized while doing something that you believe in, and there's no disrespect to the girls that don't wear hijab, it's just like, if you do, you don't, but it's something to be great, that's celebrated, that has been like really fought for. For us to stand today, there has been a lot of trials and tribulations that people had to go through, some unfortunate ones, but I'm glad that we all could really live today in peace for the most part here, at least.
Alhamdulillah, All right, so let's move on. All right, so we're gonna wrap up.
I don't think we have any questions,
but this session was about the Black Panther movie, but more importantly about the Bilal movie. And I think that overall we've had a great time talking about this. And so we're going to end out with thanking you all. Stay tuned. Join us for the next episode of Dean Talk, and we'll see you then.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.